Hello, today is August 3rd. We're here in the Indiana Dunes to explore nature with Braylee. Over here we have probably one of my favorite plants, the milkweed, because it has all kinds of insect life, such as right over here. These are little baby milkweed tussock moths. Oops. And you see on the other side there's a bunch more. Only maybe a couple of these are going to survive till adulthood, but basically, if you are familiar with another insect that lives on milkweeds, the monarch caterpillar, you might notice that the coloring is similar. The thing about these guys is that they're poisonous, because the milkweed is poisonous, so anything that eats the milkweed is also going to be poisonous. And so these guys have warning colors, yellow, black, and white, to tell predators that they're going to be poisonous. And this is a type of mimicry, I forgot what it's called, but basically two types of poisonous species will look similar to each other in order to signal to predators that they're poisonous, so that instead of having to memorize all these different poisonous species, they just see yellow, black, and white, and they'll know that it's poisonous. So that's a milkweed tussock moth.
Over here you can see some more of these milkweed tussock moths living together. You can get a better view of the different stages of development that they have. The caterpillars go through 5 different stages, 5 different molts. That's how they grow. They're called instars. So I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure that that small one that's kind of crawling up the stem there is probably the second instar. And there's a couple more like it. And then the other bigger ones that are more fluffy are probably the third instar. And then later on I'll show some that are probably the 4th or 5th instar that are getting ready to pupate.
Alright, over here we found another milkweed, and you can see what they look like later in their development. And you can see how many of them survived. So these guys are probably just about ready to pupate pretty soon. They ate most of this leaf and this one probably too. So yeah, hopefully they'll be nice, strong, healthy moths one day. Right, Braylee? Alright, in addition to insects on milkweed plants, we have this beautiful little frog.
This over here is a North American green tree frog, which is well camouflaged in the milkweed. These guys eat insects, so he's probably sitting there to scope out some cool insects. The frogs are generally immune to the toxins that are found in milkweed, so the thing I said about the warning colors and the poisonous monarch caterpillars and other caterpillars that live on there is not true for them, so he's probably there to eat some good insects, which, as we see, there are many of them found there. Over here, this is the only monarch caterpillar that I can find. It's kind of small, probably in the 3rd instar, but this is what it looks like. You can see it has the black, yellow, and white coloring, just like the milkweed tussock moth. So this is the monarch butterfly caterpillar with its mimicry to warn predators that it might be poisonous.
Alright, here we have some eggshells. Little babies hatched out. I believe that these are reptile eggs because of the way that they're shaped. A regular bird egg would look like round, that was broken open, like your chicken egg. But since reptile eggs are moist when they break out, they just make a little crease in them and they dry up and become wrinkled like this. So I couldn't tell you exactly what reptile this is, but I think normally they would lay them in a den that's not just exposed to the open air like this, but I can't find anything like that. So hopefully these are eggs that got hatched and not that were displaced and then eaten up.
Over here we have this mushroom, and I think the scientist who named this thought that it looked wrinkled and warty, like maybe an older person's skin, because he named this Older Man of the Woods. It's a type of mushroom. It's a bolete, so it has these pores on the bottom that are kind of irregularly shaped and dark brown in color, and it has a very scaly stem. And you can see, if you look closely, the pores run down the stem a little bit. That's another characteristic of the Old Man of the Woods. And this is an edible mushroom, so some people eat it. It might be difficult to see, but there's a large orange innocent looking ant over here. It's called the velvet ant, and it's actually not an ant at all. It's a type of wasp. And in this type of wasp, the females have no wings, and they have a very powerful sting. So if you see these, it's not an ant, so be careful. And another thing about them is that they have this bright orange color. That's another warning color, and it's a type of mimicry, the same kind that we see in the milkweed tussock moths and the monarch butterflies, where a bunch of species that have undesirable traits look similar. So the bright orange coloring on it is that trait, and that's called malarian mimicry. Over here, there's another bolete mushroom, except this one is not edible. It's called the bitter bolete, and as the name suggests, if you try to eat it, it will be very bitter. It's got a brown top that feels very soft and velvety, and then when you lift it up, it's got pores on the bottom, like other boletes do. They have angular and irregular pores that will be white or pink in color. And the pores will be fairly large. This one is old, so even if it was edible, you probably wouldn't eat it. But yeah, they don't continue all the way to the stem, but the pores, but you can see that the pattern of the pores kind of runs down the stem. That's called being reticulate. And has a bulbous base. Like it widens at the bottom where it goes to the ground. So there's a bitter bolete, not edible.
Over here we have this little mushroom, little ball-shaped mushroom going on the ground. See, it has little leathery pores on it, and it looks like it's a puffball. However, if you go look on the inside, the spores are black. A puffball spores will be green. So this is actually called an earthball because the spores look more like earth. See, it just blends in with the dirt. Right here, I don't want to put it in anybody's face, but if it was a puffball and it was young and white on the inside, then it would be edible. However, this one is not edible, mostly because it's spores, but also if it was still fresh and white on the inside, it just wouldn't taste good and it might give you a stomachache. So that is the earthball.
If you look over in this tree, there's a nice, lovely leaf growing on it, which actually isn't a leaf at all. This could either be a gray tree frog or a copse tree frog. They look pretty similar and can pretty much only be distinguished by their call. But at the moment, this frog wants to be gray, with a little bit of green, but they can actually change their colors like a chameleon from gray to green, depending on what they're trying to camouflage as. So you can see it's a little bit of trouble getting it off, because as you look closer at it, you can see the hands are very sticky. And if you look at the tips of the fingers, there are some round, wider projections that were also on the green tree frog, but I didn't get a very good view of it. Those little round pads produce a sticky fluid that allows them to stick and grip onto trees to become better climbers. So there's the pads. And they also, I don't know if you can see it in this, but they have bright orange under their legs. That's another defining characteristic. Over here, growing out of the sand, is this brilliant white mushroom. And this is actually one of the very few types of deadly poisonous mushrooms called the destroying angel. Some key characteristics of it is going to be completely white and completely smooth on the cap. Look at the gills, they're white. This one's a little old, so they've turned brown. And they do not touch the stem. They just come up to it, and it has a nice veil that looks kind of like a skirt, a nice long fluffy veil. And it grows out of a little pouch, a little sac that's called a vulva. So these are something to be careful of. It has all these characteristics, especially the part about growing out of a vulva, because a lot of poisonous mushrooms have that characteristic. That's something to watch out for. But its mechanism of attack is that it prevents your body from producing proteins that are necessary for your organ function. And the organ that it usually reaches the quickest is the liver, and so it's considered a liver toxin. That's what you will die of eventually, is cirrhosis of the liver or death of the liver tissue within a couple of days. So be careful around eating mushrooms, especially when you find ones like this. This log is very decomposed, a surefire sign that there's some fungus growing on it. This is a mushroom from the species Camarops petersii, which is also called the dog-nosed fungus. It's pretty easy to see why. Over back there are some younger specimens that look white. They have a little shell around them, a little sheath, that will soon shed off to reveal the black, wet, shiny surface on the bottom where it produces spores. And the black stuff on the top is spores that will release that are black in color and that mix with the moisture to make this black sludge-like stuff.
Want some more belly rubs?